Problem 2, exercise 12.6 in your textbook. This is a pretty typical allocation problem and one that you're likely to have to deal with in your businesses as you go forward. This particular company, it's a manufacturing company, you're not heading to manufacturing, but you're heading into hospitality industries, and they are great big balls of overhead. Well, this particular company makes 3 different models of hats. Their total overhead is $480,000. Now remember, that $480,000 is general overhead. That's the factory rent. It's the taxes to the state. It's the unemployment tax. It's the insurance on the building. You can't trace this to a specific hat or a specific product. So this company has gotten together and they've said, well, based on this, we think that direct labor hours are the best driver. And what they mean by that is that for every hour they have a person working, they're using up overhead. So they're going to use that as their overhead driver. So we're going to take the 12,000 total labor hours. We're going to divide that into 480,000. 480,000 divide by 12,000, and we come up with $40 per direct labor hour. Now, every time we use a labor hour, we use $40 of overhead. So, we're told that the Vogue hat uses 2,000 hours. We're told that the Beauty hat uses 4,000. And the Glamour hat uses 6,000. So altogether, that gives us a total of 12,000 total hours. And actually I managed to screw that up. It should be this way. The 2,000 should be here. The 4,000 should be here. The 6,000 should be there. And this should be the $40. I'm such a moron sometimes. So we're just going to do the multiplication. 40 times 2,000, 80,000. 40 times 4,000, 160,000. Make sure I got the right number of zeros. Do I? Yes, I do. And 40 times 6,000, 240,000. And because I'm an accountant, I've got all those numbers lined up. I have to add them up, and they do indeed total 480,000. That's using direct labor hours as my cost driver. But Charlie down in bookkeeping says, yeah, but we could also use something else. Why don't we use, I don't know. Let's try using machine hours, because every hat has to be made on the machine. And you could argue that there are some labor hours that are not making hats, but every machine hour is making hats. You could make either argument, or you could make neither argument and just hire some fool like me to do it. But until you get there, you got to play along. So, We still have the overhead cost of $480,000. But now we have 4,000 machine hours. So we divide the 480,000 by the 4,000 machine hours. We come up with $120 per machine hour. So our allocation rate is $120 per machine hour. So what's that saying is that every time a machine is working to make a Vogue or a Beauty or a Glamour, every hour it's using $120 worth of overhead, electricity, insurance, all that stuff. And then we're just going to multiply that times the number of machine hours. Vogue used 1,200 machine hours. Just coming along here. Beauty and Glamour used 1,400 each. And then it says do the total cost allocation. Just do the multiplication. 144,000, 168,000, 168,000, and of course I'm going to add them. Then it says describe a set of circumstances where it would be more appropriate to use direct labor hours. Well, it would be more appropriate to use direct labor hours if the product were labor intensive, used lots and lots of labor, and every bit or most of the time spent on labor was spent making a hat. So if the unit is incredibly labor intensive, then you would use labor. Likewise, if it wasn't quite as labor intensive, but was usually machine intensive, where the machines were used constantly to make these hats, and if a machine was running, it was making a hat. In that case, then you would use machine hours. You use the driver that's most appropriate for the product that you're making.